When we're talking to someone and we start dating them, right, we're constantly trying to figure out where they stand. We're constantly trying to figure out how much they like us, if they like us, what their intention with us are. Now here's the thing. A lot of guys know that saying sweet nothings can help manipulate a woman into being in a position that he wants her to be. And she may not want to be in that position. For example, if he's just looking to have sex and she's looking for something a bit more serious. So I'm gonna go through 6 things that guys say to women and what they actually mean. Before we get into that, I am doing one-to-one sessions, so if you wanna level up your dating life, click the link below. So the first thing that a guy might say is, I'm just looking to explore, i.e., he wants to have fun. And yeah, it's so vague, this one, what he's actually intending, but that is by design. Now it can be true. He may just be looking to explore, but this is usually used to express that they're not specifically looking for something serious. And it's hard because they may actually be open to something serious, even though they're not specifically looking for it. But it's really important that we take this as, okay, they're not really in a rush to be establishing something meaningful. And since they said they want to explore, this also means that they're not going to be dating just one person at a time. Like, you know when we say we want to explore the different flavors of ice cream before we decide, and they can give us samples? We try every single flavor that we may be into. And that's exactly what he means when he says this. He may be dating you, but he's gonna be wanting to be tasting other flavors. Now here's the thing, there's actually nothing wrong with this, so long as you both know that you're on the same page. If both people are honest about it, then great. But just be aware that if he says this phrase to you, this is what he actually means. Next thing that guys say that girls might not truly understand is, I'm not looking for a relationship. Now, I know this sounds very simple, but for some reason, a lot of women still think it's a challenge to change his mind. Why do you do this to yourself? Now, he may actually not genuinely be in a place where he can have a relationship, but it can also mean that he's just not looking to have a relationship with you. And there's no real way of knowing exactly which one it is early on, because you don't know. Just because he's dating you doesn't mean he's not talking to someone else. Or maybe he isn't and you're the only one that he's open to right now. But usually how most people find out which one it was is they'll express to a woman that they're not looking for anything serious, then they'll have fun for a few months, and then when things end, literally a couple of months later, suddenly he's in a relationship with someone else. And that makes us go, what the hell? What happened to you not being ready for a relationship, my guy? And it could be the thing where this person was dating us and someone else, and they just decided that they wanted to take that other person more seriously for a relationship. Because maybe they just felt the other person was more right for them for whatever reason. And I know it isn't the best feeling when this happens, but to be fair, we don't want to be anyone's second choice anyway. Next thing that guys might say is, I've been so busy, as in using this as a reason for why he hasn't been in contact with you for an extended period of time. And while it is true, people can get busy, right? We're not denying that. And to be fair to most guys, it does take a little bit more energy and effort to text a girl than it does from women to men. That's what we often find. Because guys can be super conscious of not coming across as creepy, but want to show that they're into a girl, but then doesn't want to come across as too keen, all of this. And we do hear all the time about a man's texting game being quite weak in comparison to the woman's. And it's just because of how some men approach text differently. The truth is, for some men, they don't like texting all day, every day. It's not always the most productive life to be constantly on your phone, unless that's how you do your work. So if he's a man who has tasks and goals that he wants to achieve, it's very likely that he operates in a way where he will designate time to get back to personal messages, which usually comes after everything he needs to do that day. Unless it's urgent or if it's emergency, then, usually people call. But if it isn't that, then he will likely prioritize work-related communication as opposed to the romantic communication. But that doesn't mean that responding isn't a priority of his, which is why he will allocate time later to do that specifically. This might be on his lunch break, maybe when he's finished at work at the end of the day, or it might be when he's just got into bed and he's about to wind down. And I know this can be frustrating for some women because it's like, okay, responding to text doesn't actually take that much of an effort. And you're right, it doesn't. But what can take a lot of effort, especially for men, is having a quick back and forth conversation over messaging. When in reality, It's just more preferable to have a phone call. If he's gonna talk to you, then he's gonna talk to you. So now that I've explained that, here's where the "I've been busy" text is actually a red flag. If he takes longer than, let's say, 36 hours to respond, that's a red flag. Essentially, if it takes him longer than a day or a day and a half. If he's busy, he'll usually allocate time to respond to personal messages at least once in his day. Or if he's got a crazy week that week, at least the day after. But if he's not responding to you in that time, if it's taking him 3, 4, 5 days to respond, unless something has drastically happened in his life, like a family event, or he's traveling or something like that, there should be alarm bells going off. And these alarm bells are usually a sign that he's just not as interested in you as he needs to be for this to work out. He may actually like who you are as a person, but the intention isn't strong enough for you to actually build a foundation for it to grow into something. The next thing that guys tend to say is, "I think you're a great girl, but..." Completely 100% honest, anything that comes after the "but" is what he really thinks. That's not saying that you're not a great girl, but for whatever reason, he just feels you're not the one for him. The phrase "you're a great girl, but" is specifically designed to soften the impact of whatever he's gonna say next. Like, you know when someone says, "Well, I don't mean to be racist, but," and you just know that what's about to come out their mouth is gonna contradict that very statement. And there are so many statements like this. "I'm not sexist, but," "I'm not homophobic, but," "I don't hate kids, but," "I think you're a great girl, but." Makes no difference. The truth is, if we really felt someone was that great, we'd want to keep them for ourselves, at least 99% of the time. This next one is one that he asks to you: "Are you dating anyone else?" Now, there's nothing actually wrong with this question. It's completely fair to ask someone you're dating if they're dating anyone else. And whether that person decides to tell you or not, well, that's up to them. But obviously, if someone doesn't want to tell you, it's usually because, they just don't want to disclose that. Now, a guy asks you this question and you think, okay, well, since we've met, I have been on a few dates with maybe 1 or 2 other guys. And you don't want to lie, so you just say open and honestly, yeah, I have been on other dates. I mean, he asked, right? But that's not what he hears. What he actually hears is, "Oh, you're sleeping with other people." I know. It seems silly, right? But that's actually what he's asking in this question. Now, why would he ask if you're dating someone else to then only make the leap that you're sleeping with that person? If that's what he actually meant, why wouldn't he just say that? Well, for one, asking someone whether they're having sex with someone else, it's a little bit forward, it's a little bit too direct. So dare I say, this is probably one of the only instances where a man will covertly be communicating. But why do men like to go to the worst scenario possible if you are dating someone else? Why do guys interpret dates as sex? Because it helps him prepare in his head for the worst case scenario so he doesn't get hurt. He wants to be able to manage his expectations based on what he thinks you may or may not be doing. He doesn't want to assume that you are his first and only choice, only for you to then choose someone else later where he's more invested in you. So even though if a guy asks this question, there's a hidden meaning behind it, it's actually a sign that he's really into you. This next one that some guys tend to say is, "I'm a bit of a naughty boy." And while this may be fun to think about in the sexual realm, and it very much might be that, this is usually used to express something a little bit different. This is a very subtle way of saying, "I have issues with being faithful." By using the words naughty and boy, it's a way to minimize the brevity of infidelity that he may have done in the past. We say, "Oh, he's just a bit of a naughty boy." Doesn't sound that much of a big deal, does it? Well, if you know that faithfulness is something of an utmost priority for you, you should definitely be wary of any guy who proclaims himself to be a bit of a naughty boy. So if or when a guy next says that to you, ask him what he means. Because either A, he'll openly admit that maybe he has a little bit of an issue with commitment, or B, he'll be very vague in defining what he means. So that's definitely one to look out for. Let me know how you go. If you're looking for a guy who sparks up your love life, make sure you subscribe to this wonderful tribe. And as always, keep it sleek.